Okay, first Jumpstart video. Here we go. I've said it many times in a bunch of different videos. My favorite EDH deck is my mono black Erebos God of the Dead deck because I have access to a greed right out of the command zone. I've never ever thought that there was a mono black commander that would really possibly ever take the slot until today. Jumpstart has introduced us to Tinybones, Trinket Thief, and we're going to talk about him in EDH. The video starts right now. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I am Joel. We're going to talk about Tinybones, the new commander from Jumpstart. But first, if you would, go down there, hit like, hit subscribe. If you like the video and you want to see more like it, we would really appreciate it. Let's jump over and talk about this new commander. So what we have here is Tinybones Trinket Thief. Everybody say, hey! One black, one other for a 1/2 legendary skeleton rogue. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and lose a life. Alright, we've got a Phyrexian Arena that can be repeated on every person's turn. Let's see how we can work this out. Our second ability down there is black, black 4. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. We've got a card draw engine and a win condition built onto the same creature as a commander. This is awesome. Let's explore some of the cards that are really going to synergize well with Tinybones. Obviously, we want ways to force opponents to be discarding cards on our turn and on their turn, and I can think of no better starting place than Necrogen Mists. 1 black, 2 other, for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player discards a card from his or her hand. So we are going to get our trigger from Tinybones with just Necrogen Mists. This is great. We're eventually approaching having everybody having empty hands so that we can pay 6 and have each opponent with no cards in hand lose 10 life. Difficult to get there, but we can keep our hand extremely full with good discard spells. Let's have them discard spells on our turn too. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player discards a card. Cunning Lethomancer. This is perfect. This is essentially a Phyrexian Arena with Tinybones out on a creature. This is great. Everybody's discarding cards. Bottomless Pit. Here's another version of Necrogen Mists so that they're discarding cards on their turn. During each player's upkeep, that player discards a card at random. Now this is hitting us. A lot of these effects that are going to be really mana consistent for us are going to also hit us. But that's fine. We're going to plan for that. Okay, that's going to be part of our entire strategy. Painful Quandary. I think this is one of just my pet spells. This was around Scars of Mirrodin time. This is when the Phyrexians were invading to turn Mirrodin into New Phyrexia. Painful Quandary says whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. So Painful Quandary is going to be targeting their life total, targeting their hand. Eventually, they're going to have to start making some very strong decisions, especially knowing that we've got a 2-cost commander that's going to turn their discarded cards into Phyrexian Arena for us. This is fantastic. As you can tell, I'm excited. I haven't gotten excited about a mono black commander in a long time. Let's start exploring some other synergies. If we're going to be having everybody discard cards and everybody's going to be down on card count in their hand, let's run things like Davriel, Rogue Shadow Mage, 1 black, 2 other for a 3 loyalty walker. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, Davriel deals 2 damage to him, just passively. This is kind of like Megrim. Plus, we can minus Davriel to have target player discarding cards. You can put effects like that. A lot of the Liliana walkers have targeted discard. Whoever has the most cards in their hand of your opponents, just target them down further. Get their hands to empty. We're going to want to spend mana to use Tinybones' second ability eventually at the end of the game. Speaking of Megrim, how about Megrim? Probably should have put this one before Davriel. That would have made a little more sense. I love the original Stronghold art on this. Side note with Krovax and Gerard on it. Anyway, Megrim, whenever an opponent discards a card, Megrim deals 2 damage to them. This is another pet card of mine. As you can tell, I really like the color black, and as you can also tell, I really don't like blue. But that's a discussion for another time. Megrim is one of the first cards that I became just enraptured with as a young MTG player when I started in middle school. And this is a very, very exciting place to be able to play what became one of my favorite enchantments of all time. Quest for the Nile Stone is another card that I've run to great success in other EDH discard decks. Quest for the Nile Stone is going to get counters put on it whenever an opponent discards a card, which, if we're doing our job correctly, should be a lot. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand and Quest for the Nile Stone has 2 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 5 life. So it's going to synergize with our discard. It's going to synergize with Tinybones' ability to have each opponent with no cards in hand lose 10 life. This is what it's just, everything is going to be synergizing around discarding cards, no cards in hand, losing life as a result of that. This is a 2-cost commander, and people are going to hate when you play this deck. I will say that. That's why I'm not doing a 3 ways to build with this commander, because I would just build it the super mean way and lean into the discard strategy. Essentially, that's going to be the strong, fun, and mean way to build this, is discard, discard, discard. Gibbering Descent, I don't know. Leave in the comments below how you pronounce this word. 2 black, 4 other for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses a life and discards a card. And this is a lot like Necrogen Mists, where it's going to help us trigger Tinybones' ability so that it's checking at the end of each end step and giving us more cards. Plus, you can madness this onto the battlefield. If this is the card you're discarding, you can play it for 4. Liliana of the Veil, I can't think of a better EDH deck to play her in. I know this is kind of an expensive card, but that each player discards a card can get you there on your turn so that you can start spending 6 mana to trigger that 10 lost life ability on Tinybones. Plus, you're getting target player sacks a creature and then a -6 ability if you do possibly happen to get there. Mostly you want that each player discards a card, so that you can just be forcing everyone's hand lower and lower. Noxious Vapors. If I'm reading this card correctly, and let me know in the comments if I'm not, this card is good, and I don't really see people talk about it, I guess maybe because it's an uncommon. 2 black, 1 other for a sorcery. Each player reveals his or her hand and chooses 1 card of each color from it, then discards all other non-land cards from it. So if you have opponents that are playing 2 colors, green and blue, let's say, they can reveal their hand, choose 1 green card and 1 blue card, and then discard everything else that's not a land. I know that normally we really don't like giving our opponents choices. We like forcing them to do things they don't want to do. But this seems like, against the right deck, especially a blue deck, then we could be hitting a lot of very powerful cards. We just let them keep 1 and their lands in their hand. This is another way where on your turn, you could trigger this down with the right combination of stuff, use all these things so that you could get to a point where you can start dumping 6 mana into Tinybones and getting that no cards in hand loses 10 life ability going. Side note, I've said Tinybones a lot in this video, and it's really fun to say. I'm very much looking forward to playing this commander. So yeah, Noxious Vapors. I'm curious what you think of that. Let me know in the comments below. Stronghold Rats is another automatic inclusion for me. 1 black, 2 other for a Shadow Rat with 2/1. Whenever Stronghold Rats deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card. Boom. We're cycling down hands. We're making sure everybody has as low a hand total as they possibly can. So let's transition into, that's all the discard stuff. How are we going to play around it knowing that that strategy is coming? And it's what I mentioned earlier with Erebos, God of the Dead, greed strategy. If we're able to draw cards off of Tinybone and keep our hands full with greed, we don't care if we're discarding cards, especially if we've planned for it. And this is part 1 of planning for it. Greed is an absolute include in this deck for me, along with my current mono black general, Erebos, God of the Dead. We've got your opponents can't gain life on there, which is huge. It helps us make sure that none of the life that we're taking away is ever brought back. Plus, it's got a greed built into it and can become a 5/7 if you happen to get your devotion up to 5. We've also got Arguel's Bloodfast. Arguel's Bloodfast is an enchantment that has greed built into it for just 2. It's unlikely in Commander that we'll ever transform Arguel's Bloodfast. I just like it because it's a 2-cost enchantment that has a greed ability on it. Also Underworld Connections, same kind of thing. 1 and 2 black for an enchant land that says enchanted land have pay 1 life, draw a card. That could be huge in this deck. Everybody's discarding cards. You've recast Tinybones a bunch of times. You just need to keep your hand full and you don't have as much much access to Tinybones anymore. Tinybones. We don't care if we're discarding as much if we're able to just keep our hand full. Awaken the Erstwhile. So I was looking for ways to make everybody all at once discard all cards from their hand just so you could make that final push. Now, you would need 5 mana for Awaken the Erstwhile and 6 mana to pump into Tinybones, but in EDH, that's not completely undoable. And it'll let us discard all the cards in everybody's hand, and then Tinybones is ready to go to town with that second ability. Dark Deal. This is a way to get everybody's hand reduced again. I want to include this in the deck because each player discards all the cards in their hand -1. Okay, so we are going to get their hands totals lower and lower and lower to hopefully everybody's at the point of top decking, playing whatever it is they top deck, or we have them targeted discard it or dark deal it out of their hand on our turn so that we can use that second ability and win the game. Now, I talked about a bunch of strategies that need a lot of mana. Caged Sun. It's a mono black deck. Here we go. Pay 6, enter the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+1. Don't care. Whenever a land's ability adds 1 or more mana of the chosen color to your mana pool, add 1 additional mana. Caged Sun for me is going to represent a lot of different things that give you this ability. Look for mana doublers in a deck like this because you are going to want to pump mana into Tinybones as a primary win con. Now you'll need some secondary win cons, so why don't we get some cards that have some synergy and let us return things from graveyards to the battlefield that have been discarded? Big creatures. We'll just pull a creature reanimated out of the ground, and use that to get home, to swing and win. That's a secondary win con for me. Reanimate, obviously, OG. This is the master of this. Just pay 1 black, you lose life, get the creature right onto the battlefield. Hopefully you can win that way. And I showed you Eldritch Reborn already. I like this because it's got some synergy and it's a saga, so it's ongoing. Each opponent sacks a walker or a creature. Each opponent discards a card. Booyah. And then finally we get to put a creature or planeswalker from our graveyard, from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So we are going to win as a secondary win con with something like that. You can also put in stuff like Exsanguinate. That would be a good secondary or tertiary win con as well, kind of similar to Tinybones. I'm very excited about this commander. Let me know what you think of Tinybones and how you would build it in the comments below. I appreciate everybody watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like this video and you want to see more like it. If you want to support us, we have a Patreon. The link is down in the description below. We got monthly giveaways, exclusive videos, behind the scenes videos, early access to videos. Go check it out and see if you like it over there. And if you want to hang out with us, we stream on Twitch and YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live on YouTube, and go find us over on Twitch, Jake and Joel are Magic. We appreciate it. We'll catch you later.